Welcome to the program, and tonight we bring you a story that promises to strengthen the claims by supporters of solar power that with proper backing it can become a viable alternative to coal-fired power, with news from the United States that two of America's biggest power utilities have unveiled plans for a multi-billion-dollar expansion of solar power supply. The company at the heart of their strategy is the one started by Australian solar expert David Mills, the former Sydney University professor who left this country for California earlier this year to pursue the further development of his groundbreaking work. What makes the announcement more significant is that the utilities are confidently predicting that their solar power will soon be providing baseload electricity, that is, day and night, at prices competitive with coal. Those associated with the project believe it could signal a paradigm shift in electricity generation. Matt Peacock reports.
The power of the sun. After decades as a fringe player in the energy industry, solar power is finally taking off in the world's largest economy.
It's very, very exciting. There's a real sense of exuberance and belief in this new technology.
My hope is, my dream, if you will, is that this will become the mechanism not only for the majority of the electricity generation in the United States, but the majority globally.
This man is a Republican. As world leaders gathered in New York last week to focus on climate change, across town at the Clinton Global Initiative, giant US power companies were pledging billions of dollars of investment into solar power.
We face a genuine planetary emergency. We cannot just talk about it. We have to act on it. We have to solve it urgently.
For David Mills, it's vindication of a lifetime's research. Only 9 months ago, the former Sydney University professor was packing his bags for California's Silicon Valley, where the venture capitalist who made his fortune in IT, Vinod Khosla, was prepared to back him.
We were very excited about what they were doing and surprised at the lack of support they were getting in Australia.
This is the culmination of a life's work. I've been at this for 30 years, so you can imagine how I feel. It's almost a sense of great relief that finally this problem is being noticed and that action is taking place.
The solar technology developed by Mills already exists here in Australia, a small pilot plant attached to the Liddell coal-fired power station in the New South Wales Hunter Valley. Its emphasis is on simplicity. Near flat mirrors on giant hoops track the sun.
Sunlight on a clear day like this strikes those mirrors and is gathered up onto the tower, and there's an absorber underneath that tower.
Out comes steam, ready to drive a conventional power turbine. This is on a small scale. Mills and Khosla's new US company, Ausra, are now planning plants far bigger.
Our first plant size, which is still small for us, but we have to start somewhere, is about a square mile in US terms, or about more than 2 square kilometers in the terms that you used in Australia. And that would generate about 175 megawatts, but really we want to aim for gigawatts style plants, and they're much bigger than that.
It's important to get a large scale for the development to bring down the costs, and the United States offers a magnificent opportunity for large-scale solar development.
Solar power is not new in the United States. This giant photovoltaic plant in the Mojave Desert was built during the oil shock of the 1980s. And more recent concern over global warming has led to other investment into solar thermal plants like this one in Nevada. The low cost of Ausra's new design, though, is now attracting the big money.
What's very exciting is major utilities in the US are now starting to believe our story after doing their own independent due diligence. They actually believe this is competitive power generation. More importantly, it's reliable power generation. We can ship them power when the sun isn't shining, which is what most utilities need.
The coal and nuclear industries have long asserted that baseload power can't be supplied by renewable energy, a mantra repeated by our politicians.
You cannot run a modern economy on wind farms and solar panels. It's a pity that you can't, but you can't.
Solar is a nice, easy, soft answer. There's this vague idea in the community that solar doesn't cost anything and it can solve the problem. It can't. It can't replace baseload power generation by power stations.
But baseload power supply is just what Austria is now being contracted to supply for the insatiable US market. It says that within 2 years it'll be able to economically store its hot water for more than 16 hours.
The interesting thing is that there's a correlation between human activity, we get up in the morning every day, we start using energy, we go to sleep at night, and the presence of the sun. That's natural, and that correlation means that we can get away with a lot less storage than we might have thought.
Well, there's been a lot of nonsense talked about in Australia and elsewhere about renewable energy allegedly not being able to provide baseload power, not being able to substitute for coal. That's never been true. It's even untrue with regard to wind power, and now with solar thermal power, it's certainly untrue.
The huge US investment into solar will soon make talk of clean coal and nuclear as a solution to climate change redundant, according to Mark Diesendorf at the University of New South Wales.
Basically, the solar thermal technology will be on the ground, certainly in the United States and many other countries, long before so-called clean coal or nuclear power.
We think we can move much faster than nuclear, and on an unsubsidized basis, we will be cheaper than nuclear power, and we should be cheaper than IGCC coal-based power generation.
In 5 years' time, we'll have very large plants, and I would say gigawatt-style plants already commissioned, able to run 24 hours a day, and completely replace the function of nuclear and coal plants.
And as international alarm mounts over the ever more obvious signs of global climate change, Mills isn't the only one who thinks the switch from fossil fuels is overdue.
I was talking to a banker the other day, and after a series of negotiations, he looked at me straight and said, I wonder if we're too late. The time is gone for easy action. We've waited too long. We've wasted 15 years, but now we've got to really, really act quickly.